Well, we've all been there before, rushing to get to the airport when you suddenly realize you forgot your passport. Well, Apple says it's got you covered. The company launching a new feature yesterday. It's called Digital ID. It's a way to carry a copy of your passport on your iPhone or Apple Watch. The ID is then stored in your Apple Wallet. Now, right now, digital ID can be used at TSA checkpoints at more than 250 U.S. airports, with more coming later. However, very important to note here, it does not replace a physical passport and cannot be used for international travel or border crossings. Hey, thanks.
Shalom, shalom, shalom. All praises to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, which is to say in the Paleo Hebrew, Yahweh, which is the name of our Heavenly Father, meaning He is, Bahashem, which means in the name, Yahweh Shai, which means He is our salvation. And that is who the world ignorantly calls God, the Heavenly Father, and Jesus, His only begotten Son. All right? Now, in the midst of this shutdown, coming to a conclusion, an end, Apple has just launched their digital wallet passport version of a passport, okay? And you can now use it here in America in participating airports, to check in, okay? As it says, it won't be a replacement, but you can use this digital wallet passport to check in TSA, okay? So this is just one step closer, all right? And you can bet the next time something like this happens where the government is shut down, wink, wink, that these people are going to be on board for expediting the process to run more smoothly by just scanning a person's phone or their watch, okay? Because it's on Apple Watch and Apple phone, all right? And I believe Google as well. So this is the website, November the 12th, 2025, which was yesterday. Apple introduces Digital ID, a new way to create and present an ID in Apple Wallet. See? And this is where this whole thing is leading to. Okay? Convenience. All right? Until it gets to what? The mark of the beast. Digital ID offers a secure and private way for users to create an ID in Apple Wallet using information from their passport, their US passport, and present their ID with iPhone or Apple Watch. See? So now instead of, having to worry about pulling out your ID or your passport, you can just present your watch or your phone. All right? Now, what is this? These are wearables, okay? Your watch is a wearable. All right? Your phone, to a certain degree, is a wearable. All right? Because you have it on you at all times. So what are they doing? They're prepping the people to get them prepared for what's to come. All right? When the ultimate wearable is implanted within you, you don't have to worry about losing that watch or that phone. It says, Apple today announced the launch of Digital ID, a new way for users to create an ID in Apple Wallet using information from their US passport and present it with the security and privacy of iPhone or Apple Watch. At launch, Digital ID acceptance will roll out first in beta at TSA checkpoints at more than 250 airports in the U.S. for in-person identity verification during domestic travel, with additional Digital ID acceptance use cases to come in the future. So this is the way of the future, man. All right, woman, child, they moving forward with this digital ID. They're not coming back to the ways of old, all right, where you just hand the TSA member And we know the TSA members are going to be eventually replaced by kiosks and robots. But the days when you would hand a TSA member a passport and they have to check it and stamp it and ask you questions and see what your business is, especially if you're traveling abroad, those days are coming to an end. All right, everything is going to be done digitally. All right, it says digital ID gives more people a way to create and present an ID in Apple Wallet, even if they do not have a real ID compliant driver license or state ID. Digital ID is not a replacement for a physical passport. It cannot be used for international travel and border crossing in lieu of a U.S. passport. So although it can't be used as an original document, it can be as a verification or a copy. All right. So as long as they don't have any, suspicions that you're doing anything wrong, they're going to, use that watch or that phone as a trusty, document. Okay. And it's going to allow the process to, move a lot smoother and faster, especially when you got delays and you got cancellations, especially in these busy airports. All right. They're going to be able to get things back up and running and just move it right through. They're going to say, all those that got their digital ID, come to the front, okay? And they're going to move things a lot faster, all right, moving forward, okay? So let's get a few precepts. This is the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 11. It reads, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. See? We understand what this thing is eventually leading to, all right? It's going down the necessary paths to get to the end game, which is what? Getting people chipped to what? Enjoy the amenities of this man's society, his kingdom, all right? Because he wants everything monitored and tracked, all right? From your flights to your groceries to whatever. All right. He wants everything tracked and to be what? Tallied for. Okay. So he wants everything tracked at the end of the day, and he wants to tally up everything you do. All right. If you take a breath, he want to know how many breaths you took in that 1 second. That 1 minute. All right. So how would he go about obtaining such? By eventually getting you microchip that could read your heart rate, that could read your blood pressure, that could read your movement. All these wearable devices are leading you up into that moment, all right? And now that they introduced this digital ID, this wallet that you can now put your passport on, that's just one step closer, all right, to what? Them implementing the microchip, all right, for the next major catastrophe, all right? And we're on the verge of that, all right? We just have to be prepared. So it says, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. See? So we're watching, okay? We're not asleep at the wheel as the 2/3 of our people are in the other nations, all right? Because they just want to, get out and have a good time. They're not measuring the time diligently, okay? Because if they did, they would know what was coming and they would be getting right. But see, our people, they don't want to take heed to the warnings. They want to wait for all hell to break loose, as we saw during this little shutdown that they just put together. And then they want to complain and cry and say what they going to do and what they ain't going to do, instead of just turning back and repenting and coming to the Lord. All right. They want to lead on their own understanding. All right. Which is why Satan is going to make light work of them. All right. Matter of fact, let's get that. What's that? Proverbs 3 in verse 5. This is Proverbs 3 and 5. It says, trust in Yahweh with all thy heart, and lean not unto thy own understanding. See, and this is what's going to get our people jammed up, man, because they going to lean on their own understanding. See, they're not going to understand what's really behind this. They're going to think it's just something that's just cool or hip, something to get the process done and over with a lot sooner. Not seeing the intricacies or the implications behind it is that you're complying to this man's system in order to use his, whatever, whether it's an airplane, whether it's a car, whatever you need, you got to come to him, all right? And you're going to use his stuff. He's going to require you to consent to that, all right? And what's the only way you can comply and consent is if you put that digital chip inside your body, right? So it says, verse 6, in all thy ways acknowledge him, who? Yahweh, through his only begotten son, Yahushua. And he shall direct thy path, see? So once everything do start to come apart in this society to the point where you can't deny it, guess what? The Lord's going to direct your paths, man. So he going to lead you down the right road, all right? And not have you go off and have to get microchip, all right? So we not ignorant of Satan's devices. We know this because why? It tells us in Revelation, the 13th chapter, that in order for you to buy and sell or whatever else, you're going to have to take that chip. Let's get this and then we'll close out. Revelation 13 and 16. And he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. Let's look up that word. Right hand.
Strong's G 1188, Dexias. Dexias.
All right, this is Dexias. And the outline of the biblical usage is the right hand, metaphor, a place of honor or authority. All right. So I believe this is the word where you get, what's the word I'm looking for? Is it dexity? It's where you can use both hands, all right? Right and left, all right? Dexterity, yeah. I believe this is where you get the word dexterity from. But let me double check, okay? Dexterity.
Dexterity is the skill of using your hands or body with agility, like a musician or surgeon. It can also mean mental quickness, such as a politician answering questions. Synonyms include skill, adroitness, nimbleness, and deftness.
Dexterity.
So I said dexterity comes from the Greek word dexios. It says, yes, the English word dexterity ultimately traces its origins to the Greek word deexios. All right? The Greek word deexios means right or on the right hand. It can also metaphorically mean fortune or clever. So you're going to get that mark in your right hand, okay? It could be either hand, all right? If you left hand and that's your dominant hand, that's the hand that they're going to put it on, all right? If you right hand and that's your dominant hand, that's the hand they're going to put it on, all right? So where it says, and he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand, the authority, whichever hand you use, whether it's your left or your right, it says, or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. See? So you won't be able to do any transactions, any business, anything without receiving this mark, all right? And we know these digital wallets, these IDs, it's all leading to the role of the mark of the beast, all right? Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 8 reads what? Be sober, be vigilant. See? The only way Satan can get an advantage of you if you're not sober and you're not vigilant. If you're so in tune to the ways of this world and the holidays and everything else, you'll be easily getting advantage and taken advantage of. All right. But if you measure the time diligently and doing what's asked and require of you from Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shah, Satan can't take an advantage of you. Because why? You're sober and you're vigilant. All right. A lion doesn't look to chase after something that can see him coming, because it's a waste of time. But if he can sneak up on that prey and catch him while he's grazing or unaware, because he's not sober and vigilant, then guess what? 10 out of 10 times, that lion is going to go for that prey that's not watching, all right? So that's why we've been warned to what? Be sober and vigilant, to watch. Why? Because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour, right? The ones that got their head down just grazing on a lush field of green grass, taking Esau, Edom's benefits and everything else, then when all hell breaks loose, they ain't gonna know what to do. All right. But by that time, that lion is gonna already have pounced on him, man, and got him in that death grip. All right. You watch the safari channels, you know how it is. When the lion clamp on that zebra or that antelope right up under his windpipe and cut it off, and the animal be kicking. Well, hey, Esau Edom ain't no different. He ain't gonna give you these amenities for free and not ask for nothing in return. You're gonna have to consent, as it's spoken of in 2nd Ezra, the 16th chapter. All right, those that consent will be trodden down. Once you consent to this man's device, that's it. No more freedom will or what you thought you had before. It's all taken apart. You're going to have whatever he tells you, whenever he tells you. All right. So stay vigilant, be sober, stay circumspect, because, hey, we on the verge of something major happening. All right. We just have to continue to still be patient. So be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. All right. So with that being said, pray someone was edified through this lesson. And until the next time, if it be the Lord's will, stay strong, stay in the faith. We're almost home. Shalom. Peace.